this first recipe, you want to start off with some pumpkin cake mix. I'm just using the Pillsbury brand because it tastes really, really good. You can of course make it homemade if that is what you would like to do as well, but I'm just choosing to use the box cake mix. You just want to prepare it how it says on the back of the packaging, and then you want to set it aside while you spray down your mini bundt pans. Again, you want to spray down your mini bundt pans. You're going to need mini bundt pans for this recipe because it is what is going to give the pumpkins their shape. So I just bought these at Bed Bath & Beyond, I believe, or at Target. I can't really remember exactly which one it was. You can get these pretty much anywhere. And then I'm just distributing the batter between the mini bundt pans. Place your cakes into the oven and bake them according to the instructions on the back of your box. Once your cakes are close to being done, you want to start preparing your frosting. I just bought some orange Pillsbury frosting and I realized it wasn't the color that I wanted it to be, so I added a couple of drops of orange food coloring. Then I threw this into the microwave for about 20 seconds to melt it down a little bit and make it a little smoother so it was easier to work with. Once your cakes have completely cooled off, you just want to take your cakes and dip them top side into the frosting or your melted icing, and then place them onto a cooling rack. Once my first layer of frosting had hardened up a little bit, I took a spoon and I just drizzled a little bit more of that frosting on top to give it a little bit more texture and a little bit more dimension, and to of course make the color a little more orange. And the final step is to take a Tootsie Roll, a candy bar, any form of chocolate or any kind of candy that you have or edible item that is brown, and stick it right into the center. That is going to act as your stick. And here you have it, your very own little mini pumpkin bundt cakes. I think that these came out so cute. They taste amazing and they are the perfect little centerpiece if you are hosting any Thanksgiving or fall related party. Next up is a personal favorite of mine, the mock candy corn ice cream cone cupcakes. For this, you're going to need a cupcake tin. I have this tin that has these little spikes on the bottom. They're actually meant for stuffed cupcakes, but this is not necessary in this recipe. As long as you have a cupcake tin, you are fine. Just make sure that you are being very, very careful that your cupcake cones or your ice cream cones do not tip over. Once you have your ice cream cones into your cupcake tins, you just want to fill up the cones about 3/4 of the way with your cake batter. Then you want to place it in the oven and you want to cook it according to the directions on the back of your cake box. Once your cupcakes have cooked thoroughly and have cooled completely, you can stop preparing your frosting. I'm just taking some orange frosting and some white frosting and I am putting it into a piping bag. I'm putting all of the white frosting on one side and all of the orange frosting on the other side. I am also lining my piping bag with a little tip on the bottom that has a nice little star tip so that I have a nice design when I am piping out my frosting onto my cupcakes. And the last thing that you want to do is to pipe on your frosting in a circular motion, bringing your piping bag up as you go. If you use that star tip like I had mentioned in the previous clip, you are really going to give the illusion of that soft serve ice cream. But if you don't have a star tip, you can just cut the bottom of your piping bag off and you will still get a really cool looking ice cream cone. The very, very final thing that I did was to top all of the frosting off with a piece of candy corn. And voila, you have your very own mock candy corn ice cream cone cupcakes. Now these don't exactly taste like candy corn, that's why they're mock cupcakes, but they do look like the candy corn soft serve that you can get at Disney, and that makes my heart very, very happy. And even more, they taste phenomenal. Now let's move on to the maple macarons. What you're going to need is 3/4 of a cup of almond flour and 1 full cup of powdered sugar. You want to put this through a sifter to make sure that you're not adding any of those clumps into your actual batter. You want to make sure that all of the almond flour and the powdered sugar is extremely fine. Once you are done sifting, if there are any large clumps, you can kind of just smash them down so it comes out nice and fine into your container. In a separate bowl, you want to crack open 2 eggs, and you only want to use the egg whites for this recipe. Make sure that you are separating the egg yolks from the egg whites. You can just use the egg yolks for another recipe, just put them in the refrigerator and then use them at your leisure. Again, you only want the egg whites for this recipe. Start to beat your eggs on a high speed for about 2 to 3 minutes before you add in your sugar. Once your eggs become a little frothy, it is time to add in your sugar. You want to add in 1/4 of a cup of sugar gradually. Continue to beat your eggs on a high speed, and then you want to add in 1 to 2 tablespoons of maple syrup. You can do this to taste, at least 1 tablespoon, 2 tablespoons if you want them to be really, really maple flavored. And then you just want to continue to beat your eggs on a high speed for another 7 to 8 minutes or until stiff peaks form. Once you reach those stiff peaks, you want to start folding all of your egg whites into your dry ingredients. You want to start off by folding just a little bit of it at first, and then you want to add the rest of your egg whites into your dry ingredients and just fold and fold and fold until you reach a ribbon state. I learned this from the Scran line. You want to fold these until you can actually pull up your batter and let it fall off into like a ribbon state, if that makes any sense at all. It should fall off of your spoon or of your spatula and kind of make a little bit of a ribbon effect. Now it is time to actually bake your macarons into the oven. You want to start by taking some parchment paper, and you can add a little bit of that batter on the bottom of your pan and then add your parchment paper so that it doesn't move at all and it stays exactly where you want it to be, because we are going to be banging this pan down onto a hard surface very, very soon. So add all of your macaron batter into a piping bag and just start to pipe out some equal size dollops of your macaron batter. And then you're going to take your pan and just smash it down onto a hard surface several times so that you're releasing all of the air bubbles inside. Bake your macarons in the oven at 300 degrees for about 10 to 15 minutes. When you start to see your macarons rising and they start to brown just a little bit on the top, you will know that they are ready. And the final step is just to fill them with whatever you would like. I was making macarons that are maple flavored, so I decided to go with a vanilla and chocolate swirl buttercream. I just thought that it tasted really, really nice together. But you can fill this with whatever you would like. Sandwich your macarons together and you are done. Aren't they so beautiful? I just love the way that macarons look. I just think that they're so cute and they're so petite and they're so beautiful and they're so tasty. So it is literally the best of all the worlds. This next recipe is probably a 60-second recipe, and the end result is wonderful. It is an apple cider ice cream float. You want to start by adding a scoop of vanilla ice cream to the bottom of a cup or to the bottom of a mug. Then you just want to add in equal parts of apple cider and ginger ale, and that's pretty much all there is to it. The only other thing that you can do that I did here was to add on a little whipped cream or some Cool Whip, and then just to sprinkle a little bit of cinnamon on the top for aesthetics. And that's pretty much all there is to this recipe. So simple, takes only about a minute to make, tastes amazing, and looks really pretty as well. I would say that this is very Instagrammable. This is fall in a cup, guys. Fall in a cup. The flavors, the textures, everything about it just screams autumn to me, and I am into that. And the final recipe for this video is a recipe that I make on my channel all the time. I make many different variations of cake pops because they're probably, besides donuts, one of my favorite desserts out there. All I did was take some of the leftover pumpkin cake mix that I had from earlier, and I just crumbled it up into a bowl. You can either make a cake or just use some leftover cupcakes or bundt cakes or whatever you have, and just again crumble it into a bowl. Next up, you want to add in your frosting. Depending on how much cake mix you actually used and crumbled up will determine how much frosting you want to make. As you could see in the previous clip, I used 1 bundt cake, 1 little mini bundt cake, and 2 cupcakes. And with that, I am adding in 1 scoop, and it was absolutely the most perfect amount of frosting. I just mixed it together until I reached a paste-like consistency. Then I am just taking scoops of that batter and I am rolling them very vigorously in my hands to make sure that I am packing them together, and I'm making spherical objects, and I'm just placing those little cake balls onto a plate. Once I finish rolling all of the cake balls out, I just added these into the refrigerator and I allow them to chill for about a half hour. Once your cake pops have chilled in the refrigerator for at least 30 minutes, you want to dunk them into a pool of melted chocolate. You can use white chocolate like I am using here, you can use milk chocolate, you can use dark chocolate, you can use colorful chocolate. It is completely up to you, completely up to your preference. Roll them around in the melted chocolate until they are completely coated. Remove them with a fork, but before placing them on the parchment paper or on a piece of wax paper, just bang your fork down on the side of your bowl several times to remove any of that excess chocolate. And the very last step is optional, but I just dip my fork back into the melted chocolate and I just drizzle that chocolate all over the cake pops to give them a little bit more dimension. Allow all the chocolate to harden completely before you enjoy. It should take about 10 to 15 minutes. And there you have it, your very own cake pops that are pumpkin flavored, perfect for the fall, and super, super aesthetically pleasing to look at and super, super delicious to eat. And that is it for this video. I really hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you so much for watching. Please let me know your thought in the comments below, and please subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet and you enjoy my videos. I love you guys to the moon and back. I hope you're having an amazing day, and I will talk to you all soon. Bye guys.